Welcome back to the 18th episode of the Diving Into Sports podcast with your hosts Lyle
and Nash.
Henry. Let's dive into today's topic. So, NFL Week 18, last week of the regular season. We're recording this on Saturday night after the Saturday games went down earlier today. Steelers beat the Ravens 17-10. I'll let Nash talk about this one first.
So this game, at least to me, was closer than I thought it would be. As a Jags fan, I was needing the Ravens to win. Of course, that did not happen. But the Ravens put in a better fight than I thought they would with the full backup squad. Of course, they had their spot clinched up in the playoffs, so they weren't starring Lamar Jackson or any of their stars. But the Steelers had a must-win. They had to win to have a chance at the playoffs, and they did just that. But with a lot of issues, Mason Rudolph was not as efficient as he has been in the past couple games passing the ball. Najee Harris rushed the ball pretty well. Jaylen Warren wasn't as efficient like Rudolph as he has been the past few games. But Steelers ultimately got the job done, all they needed to do, and now they will need a Jags loss or a Bills loss to make the playoffs.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. And then the next game this Saturday, the last game of Saturday, was Texans at Colts. Texans got the win 23-19 and secured their playoff berth. It was a win in game, a playing game. And I was at the game. Nash was at the IU basketball game. I was at the Colts game. I was rooting for the Colts, obviously, but I'm a Chargers fan, so I'm not a diehard Colts fan, but I was still rooting for them. It was a tough loss. I feel bad for any Colts fan. I mean, that is one of the worst ways you could go out. I mean, that drop pass at the end was so bad. You've got to feel for the guy that dropped it, but it was really bad. Shane Steichen, though, horrible coaching in the last game, horrible play calling, horrible clock management. Minshew wasn't given many opportunities, but the few opportunities he was given, he squandered. He's not a starting quarterback. And some people would disagree with me, but he's just not. I mean, he's not going to lead you to a Super Bowl. Even if he leads you to the playoffs, he's not going to go far. And CJ Stroud just showed that he's one of the great young quarterbacks in the league. First play the Texans had on offense was a deep 70-yard pass for a touchdown. I mean, it was an absolute clinic from him. And then they realized they could just milk the clock out by running it. They didn't have to use his arm a bunch during the game because the Colts just didn't play well. I mean, they didn't play well, and yeah, that was that.
Also, at least in my opinion, you have to give a lot of credit to the Colts this year, even though the fact that they will not make the playoffs. Just because, I mean, when you look when they started in Week 1, they played my Jags. I was at that game in Indy, and obviously they had a totally different roster than they do now. Of course, Anthony Richardson was their quarterback they drafted high, hoping he would succeed this year, like Stroud has. But of course, he got injured, so Minshew filled, the former Jaguar, and he's done a very nice job as a backup, about all you could ask for, at least in my opinion. And they've picked up some pieces like Josh Downs, who you might not have expected to have a big season, but have filled in for like injured Michael Pittman. So Colts have had a better season with more backups, at least, than the Texans, who have played their starters, except CJ Stroud did get injured. But in my opinion, the Colts have had a tougher road to the spot. So in that way, I was kind of hoping for a Colts victory tonight, especially because Minshew was a former Jaguar. He's a really cool guy, and this game was kind of a battle of opposites, as the Texans have had just kind of a smooth season despite the fact that CJ Stroud got injured a couple of weeks ago. But Colts have really had a bumpy year, and it was kind of shown tonight as there were more bigger holes in their roster, at least in my opinion, compared to the Texans, who have a more solidified offense and defense.
Yeah, the Colts have definitely exceeded expectations by far, for sure. And
with
now,
a new head coach.
Yeah, that's true. And he didn't have a great game tonight, but props to him for even putting them in this position. And now we move to the Sunday games. First up, Nash can talk here. He'll probably talk for a while, but Jaguars, Titans. Jaguars are his favorite team. Massive game. Jaguars win and they're in, lose and they're out. It's really high stakes.
Yeah, this game, I mean, it's just like Texans-Colts game. It's pretty much a playoff game. Obviously not for the Titans more so, but for us, it's a playoff game. I mean, if we win, it's a simple formula. If we win, we are in the playoff contention. If we lose, we are out of it totally. The Steelers would get that spot, and the Texans would win the AFC South. If we lose, Also, if we lose, the Bills will be in. So a lot of teams are probably rooting for us to lose, but I think we will get it done. I feel like we've really been undermined in the national TV spotlight lately just because we went on that ice cold streak where we lost 4 games in a row. But I think we're bouncing back. I mean, we beat the Panthers really handily with a backup 26-0, and now we are getting 3 of our best players back, hopefully this weekend. Trevor Lawrence, game time decision. I'm expecting he'll play. Christian Kirk playing for sure, and Zay Jones, probably a wide receiver too, who's been very productive all year. So Zay Jones back, Christian Kirk back, and Lawrence likely back. That's a dangerous roster. I mean, it's shown earlier this year. We've had some holes. We've had some games that did not go well. But I think we're going to get back to early year form where we were producing in high numbers in a lot of wins. And I think the Titans are really going to, I mean, they're going to fall to their arch rivals tomorrow, in my opinion. It's a battle of maybe the biggest rivalry in the division, and in Tennessee, Titans don't have whole lot to play for besides the fact that they are wanting to help some teams out and wanting to beat the team they hate the most in the league, rather. So these two teams obviously hate each other a ton. So for that factor, the Titans will want to win, but we have a lot more to play for. Obviously, a ton to play for, as much as possible. This game is huge. It's going to be really tense. I feel like it's not getting enough. It's not being brought up enough in the playoff contention because this game is huge for a ton of teams. Obviously, most for the Jags, though, because if we win, we lock up the AFC South and we will host the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs, likely on that Saturday the 13th. So if we win our division. If we lose, we're out of it totally. Two total opposites. And it all comes down to this one game on Sunday at 1 o'clock. And it's huge. This game is huge. It's a playing game. And go Jags.
I'm not going to even say anything else because that was pretty much all you need to know for that game. And we've talked a lot. We've done 3 games so far. We've gone to deep discussion with all of those. So these next few will definitely be a lot more brief. Just a heads up. Okay, Vikings at Lions, 1 p.m. I'm going to do this one. I think the Lions, I mean, let's see. The Lions, they're 11-5. Vikings are 7-9. Vikings are eliminated. Lions, I think they have a good chance at making a playoff run. But for them, I think it would be a great confidence boost if they won tomorrow. But they've already clinched the playoffs, so it doesn't really matter.
They're obviously going to be totally kicked too after that Cowboys game.
Yeah, it will motivate them for sure because that was a horrible call, absolutely horrible. And how can that not motivate you? I mean, it could end up being better for them in the playoffs because they will just have a huge chip on their shoulder. Next game, Falcons at Saints, also at 1 p.m. Nash, you can talk about this.
I think this division has really it's been a total dumpster fire this whole year. I mean, these are some of the worst teams in the league, in my opinion, and all of them have a chance, except the Saints don't. But Falcons and Buccaneers both could still win. They could still make a playoff run technically, it's wild to think about that because these teams are not roster filled really with great players. I mean, Buccaneers have Baker outside of that, but Falcons Saints, this game tomorrow is really just a weird matchup that we've gotten to this point in the year, and it still holds some meaning because these teams they don't impress me a whole lot. I think that they should both keep their head coaches because I like where it's going for both of them, at least not in quarterback situation for the Falcons. But if they can get Russell Wilson, someone like him with veteran experience, I think Arthur Smith will help that like he did with Tannehill in Tennessee. Saints, though, they're in a really interesting spot. What do they want to do with Derek Carr? What do they want to do with head coach Dennis Allen? I think this game's interesting because it is a playoff game, rivals. I think that the Saints actually will come out on top in this one in a close game because I think their offense has looked a bit more impressive to me this year because Falcons just have had really a lack of consistency all year at quarterback and at running back because Bijan hasn't been used as much as, in my opinion, he should have been.
And I want to correct myself quickly before we move on. The Vikings do still have a chance at making the playoffs because the NFC sucks. And if they win and move to 8-9, they have an 11% chance to make the playoffs, which doesn't even feel right. They've had a horrendous year. They do not deserve to go to the playoffs, but somehow they still have a chance. So there you go. And then the next game will that I'll talk about is Jets Patriots. And yeah, just two oh, I can't put into words how bad these two teams are. I mean, the Jets are 6-10 and the Patriots are 4-12. Obviously, these teams are eliminated from the playoffs, and obviously, they both want to lose for a better draft pick. And the Patriots, in my opinion, have been one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the league this year. The Jets, if they had Aaron Rodgers, they'd be way better, but they haven't, and they've just looked horrible. So this game could be the worst of the week. I'm not even going to talk much about this because it's meaningless. It's horrible. Don't watch it.
I do disagree with you, though. I think the Patriots might have something to play for. Speaking of Belichick, because if this really is his final game as a Patriots head coach, obviously you want to go out on a winning note, and obviously you want to play well. So if this is his final game, which I think it might be, then I think they will obviously want to win. So I think the Patriots will win this game for sure.
Okay, I disagree strongly. I think the Patriots are horrible. They've got, I think, Bailey Zappi starting tomorrow. He's had a horrible year. I'm not high on the Patriots at all. But moving on, Buccaneers, Panthers. Nash, you can talk about this. It's at the Panthers. It's at 1 p.m. Well, we'll just try to move fast, but
Yeah,
not much to say.
Another NFC South mess because again, like I said, these two teams, I guess Bucks have shown some signs of improvement, and they do look like a solid NFL team right now. But especially the Panthers are a total mess right now.
Oh my gosh.
GM
Ooh.
throwing his drink at Jaguars fans, that totally ticked me off. They are a total mess right now, and they can't even move the ball offensively. They're averaging about 2 yards a play. Just it's a total mess right now in Carolina. Going to have a lot on their hands in the next few years, but Buccaneers should obviously win this game. If they don't, I would be shocked.
Yeah, I'd be shocked too. Baker's looked pretty good this year, and the Panthers again are a complete mess. Browns Bengals 1 p.m. I'll talk about this. It's the Browns are resting their starters. Joe Flacco will not play. They're playing the Bengals, who've been eliminated. So really, this game is also meaningless. And I also wouldn't watch this game because it'll be sloppy. It'll be bad. It'll be like the Jets Patriots game. Again, completely meaningless. And the Browns are just hoping for a big playoff run. But besides that, this game means nothing. So confidence-wise, yes, they probably would like to win, but in all reality, it doesn't matter at all. Bears Packers rivalry 425, and while neither of these teams have been great, they've shown sparks, especially the Packers, and it will be an interesting game. Nash, you can talk about this.
Yeah, I think the Packers have been slept on too much this whole year, and now's their chance to they can make the playoffs, and they have to win this game, and it's the biggest rivalry in the NFL. So this game actually has some meaning to it. I think the Packers will win for sure, but
if the Packers win, they're in.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, if they win, they control their own destiny.
If they lose, they have a 15%
them and the Jags
chance.
are the two teams left that totally control their own destiny. And I think the Packers will win this game, and I think they will make the playoffs, and I think they could go on a run.
So not only is this a rivalry game, but it's also huge for the playoffs. This is the game you might want to watch because, yeah, this game will actually mean a lot for the playoffs and for these two teams. Next up, I'll do this game, and this one's interesting because, again, it doesn't really mean much. The Cowboys and Commanders for 25. Cowboys are in the playoffs. Commanders are absolutely not. But the Cowboys really need confidence. Like, they've had some slumps here and there. They just need to be consistent. And to win a Super Bowl, you have to be consistent. And this is a Super Bowl caliber team. At least that's what people say. And I think they are a Super Bowl caliber team, but they have to play that way consistently. So whether, again, statistically, this game doesn't matter. For mentally, it does matter for the Cowboys. Commanders are 4-12. They're talking about draft picks. I mean, they do not want to win games at this point. And I hate saying that because it doesn't sound right in sports to say like they don't want to win, but they don't. I mean, they don't. For the long-term future, you don't want to win games like this if you're the Commanders. Next game, Nash, you can talk about this. Broncos Raiders. They're in the Chargers division, these two teams, so I'm more used to them, but you can probably have this one is it's a weird game, but you can this one's a fun one to talk about.
Yeah, Raiders are playing for the future, at least their coaches, and I think the players will rally around in the future of their head coaching position because I think Antonio Pierce wants to end on a good note this year, and I think maybe solidify himself as the top head coaching candidate for this next year. I think
he should be
hired, in my opinion, as well. And this game's going to be interesting, though. Broncos have been just, they've been a total roller coaster this year, and now they're ending up with a coach that there's a lot of questions about, with a quarterback that's going to leave, quarterback playing right now that's a long-time backup. They're not in a good spot at all, and I think they're going to meet an end to the season in the black hole in Las Vegas. I think the Raiders are going to win this game, and Antonio Pierce is going to get the job soon.
Yeah, I actually agree with all of that. The Raiders are going to win, and Antonio Pierce, if Mark Davis is smart at all, he will keep Pierce. It would be a Raiders thing not to keep Pierce, but they absolutely need to because he's looked great, in my opinion. We've got 5 more games left. We'll try to make this quick, except for the Chargers game. I want to talk about that one. Eagles Giants 425 at the Giants. The Giants. Oof. I'll talk about this one. Eagles are 11-5. Giants are 5-11. So this is another one of those games that really doesn't matter, and I won't talk about this long. Giants have had 5 wins, but barely 5 wins. They've looked really bad this year. Eagles they need to win more than any other team that's already clinched the playoffs because they've just been on a downward dip, more than a dip, like a roll. They've been on a downward roller coaster that's endlessly going down. I mean, it's that simple. So Eagles should really want to win this game. That's all I'm gonna say.
It doesn't hold a lot of playoff value, but for the momentum status, of course, they do want to win. So, yeah.
Seahawks Cardinals now 425. Nash, you can talk about this. It's at the Cardinals. Cardinals are absolutely horrible. This game doesn't mean anything to the Cardinals, but the Seahawks are on the bubble. If they win, they have a 45% chance to make the playoffs. So really dicey there. Cardinals will want to keep them out of the playoffs, though. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, the Cardinals, first of all, in my opinion, I'd like to correct you. They are not a horrible team. They just went to Philly and beat the Eagles. I think they're a decent team, at least, even though they only 4 wins. But I think the Seahawks...
You can't call a 4-win team a good team.
You can call them a decent team.
No, not at all. That's horrible.
They just beat Philly, though.
4 wins is horrible. If they beat the Seahawks and get to 5 wins, they're an acceptable team. That's as far as 4 wins.
Anyway, I think the Seahawks are going to win tomorrow, but I do not think they're going to make the playoffs because they need the Bears to beat the Packers, and I don't think that's going to happen. They obviously need some help and some big help at that, but they can do the first step in winning the game, and I think they'll do that because they at least have a solid roster, and I think they'll want to control the time in this one.
Next up, that's all we're going to say about that game. But next up is Rams 49ers 425 at the 49ers. Both these teams have clinched the playoffs, so it really doesn't affect much except for seeding, I guess. But yeah, I think both these teams, other than seeding, it doesn't matter, but you want to win, especially when both teams, it doesn't affect whether you're in or out. So why not win? Seriously, why not win at this point? Rams especially, they're worse according to their record, so they would love to beat the 49ers who think they're all good and stuff. I'm sure the Rams would love to win this game. Um the next game we've got is the Chargers and Chiefs at the Chargers. I'm going to talk about this game. You can talk about the Sunday night game. Um, this game is ugly, and if I wasn't a Chargers fan, I wouldn't be talking about this game at all. But since I'm a Chargers fan, I'm going to rant about it. Um, it the Chargers want to lose. It's that simple. The Chargers want to lose for a better draft pick. They have no reason to win, but the Chiefs are starting Blaine Gabbert. They're resting their starters. Um, so that kind of throws a kink in things. But the Chargers also have Keenan Allen out. They have Joey Bosa out. They have Justin Herbert out. So both these teams are depleted completely. And I don't think I think it'll be a battle of who's gonna play worse. Who wants to play worse, basically. And I don't think the Chargers players want to win, I'm sure, but Chargers fans do not want them to win. They want a higher draft pick. A win means nothing except for beating the Chiefs, who the Chiefs are my least favorite team in the league. So a win against the Chiefs wouldn't make me cry. I mean, come on. I would love that. I hate the Chiefs, but I also would not mind losing at all for a draft pick. The last game of the week is the Bills at the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football. And Nash, you can finish us off here.
Yeah, this is obviously, at least in the media's view, the most anticipated game of the week.
Sunday Night Football, it has to be in week 18.
Yeah, the winner of this division wins the division, and the Bills come into this game again a roller coaster season. I mean, they started off really slower than a lot of people would think, but they've risen up to the top and playing really good ball as of late. Dolphins, meanwhile, this is kind of worst case scenario. They did not think they'd get to this point, but they are, and it could be a home field in Buffalo if the Bills can win this game, which you look at from a few weeks ago, and most people didn't see that coming. But Bills control their own destiny division-wise, and they could still miss the playoffs still. So they're another team with a lot of variables at stake tomorrow. That's why this game is so valuable. They need to win this game in Miami. Lots at stake here on Sunday night. So it's going to be a fun battle between two of the best teams in the league. Even though the Bills could still miss the playoffs, I'm still referring to them as one of the best in the league because of how well they've played lately.
Yeah, that finishes off the week. Week 18, NFL, final week of the year. That's all we've got for you. Thanks for listening. We hope to see you again. If you're watching on YouTube, click subscribe. If you're anywhere else, click follow. But stay tuned for new episodes. We'll try to post them every day, or if not every day, pretty often.
Go Jags, and see you in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.